If you're coming out to Colorado this summer in 2021 to do some hiking and backpacking, just know that there are several areas in Colorado that you need a permit for. Hi guys, I'm Audrey. I'm tribe known as Glow Stick. In 2018, I quit my amazing job in Washington, D.C. to thru hike the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. And now I live in beautiful Colorado where life is wonderful. But I just wanted to share with you guys, if you are visiting this summer, here are 5 places that you need a permit for if you want to go hiking there. And these are possibly not the only places that you need permits for, but I did want to highlight these ones because they are popular areas to visit. So these areas are Rocky Mountain National Park, Hanging Lake, the Brainard Lake Recreation Area, Conundrum Hot Springs, and Maroon Bells. So let me get into these individually and talk you through what you need to know. Let's start with Rocky Mountain National Park. Okay, so this started just in 2020 and it's been extended through 2021. In the summer months from May through October 11th, you do need a timed entry permit to get into Rocky Mountain National Park. There are a couple of different areas that you need to know the difference between. Okay, so the most popular area of the park is the Bear Lake corridor. These are where you will see the most visitors, the most tourists, the most hikers. The Bear Lake corridor includes things like Sky Pond, The Lock, Bear Lake, Emerald Lake, Dream Lake, and several others, but those are some of the bigger ones. And for this area, because it is the busiest, you need a permit starting at 5 a.m. going all the way through 6 p.m. So I'll put a link to the timed entry system down in the notes, but know that permits open up for August on July 1st at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. They open up for September on August 1st at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and they open up for October on September 1st at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. However, if you want to go to Rocky Mountain National Park and you want to go to this area and you don't get a permit months ahead of time like you're supposed to, they do open up some permits the night before at 5 p.m. So say you want to go on July 31st. You can go on the website for the timed reservations on July 30th at 5 p.m. Mountain Time and see if there are any permits available. And likely there will be, but don't count on it, but there's a good chance you'll be able to get one. Something else to know for the Bear Lake corridor is that just because you get a timed entry permit to get in the park at that time, that does not mean that you're still going to be able to get a parking spot at the trailhead that you want to be at, because these trailheads fill up super quickly in this area, especially during the peak summer months. And I think we all know that a lot more people are going outdoors since COVID began. So just know that you might not be able to get a parking space at the trailhead that you want, but there is a shuttle that you can take from the Estes Park Visitor Center. I'll also put the link to this in the notes. And you can take that shuttle from the Visitor Center to some of those more popular trailheads. So take a look at that and know that, maybe if you're going into the park a little later in the morning or midday or something like that, you may need to take the shuttle instead of actually driving your car to that trailhead. If you're going to another area of the park, aside from the Bear Lake corridor, you only need a timed entry permit between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. But if you're ever going backpacking in the park or you want to stay overnight in the park, you do need a backcountry permit for that. So just keep that in mind. You need to plan in advance. Those permits are through the Wilderness Office, and I'll also put a link to the Wilderness Office down in the notes because they do have specific regulations for Rocky Mountain National Park. For example, you need to bring in either a bear canister or an Ursack with an aluminum liner if you are backpacking in Rocky Mountain National Park. And in Rocky Mountain National Park, you do also need either to pay the fee to get into the park, which I believe is $25 plus a $2 reservation fee online, or you can have a national park pass. And you still have to pay the $2 reservation fee online, but it's much cheaper than if you didn't have a park pass. Okay, next up, the Brainard Lake Recreation Area. So the Brainard Lake Recreation Area is one of my favorite areas that's pretty close to Boulder. It's only about a 45-minute drive from Boulder or almost an hour and a half from Denver. And two of my very favorite hikes are located in this recreation center, which is in the Indian Peaks Wilderness. So this is Lake Isabel and Blue Lake. I have videos on both of these hikes if you're interested. I'll put those links in the notes as well. Check those out. But they are just spectacularly pretty hikes to alpine lakes. And you need a timed entry permit for this, very similar to Rocky Mountain National Park. Like Rocky Mountain National Park, there is a fee to get into the Brainard Lake Recreation Area. This is $12 plus a $2 online reservation fee. And in normal years, you have to pay that $12 in cash when you arrive at the gate. But obviously now, since you have to get a reservation online anyway, you pay for that online. But if you have a national park pass, that will get you into the recreation area and you'll just have to pay that $2 fee online. The timed entry system for Brainard Lake is very similar to Rocky Mountain National Park. You can do this online, or you have to do this online, and I'll put the link to that in the notes as well. And reservations go from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they go in 3-hour chunks. So the first one, for example, goes from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. So you can arrive at the recreation area anytime within that window. And just know that for Brainard Lake, the timed reservation system that you get starting July 1st is for designated parking lots. So this includes, for example, the Brainard Lake Day Use Area, the Long Lake Trailhead, which is the one that you start at to go to Lake Isabel, the Mitchell Lake Trailhead, which is the one that you start at to go to Blue Lake, etc. The timed entry permits for Brainard Lake, unlike Rocky Mountain National Park, which releases tickets once a month, Brainard Lake releases them every 14 days on a rolling basis. So you should get on there 2 weeks before you want to do your hike in Brainard Lake, and that's when you should hopefully be able to get a timed entry permit. And just know for this area, I have been there already this year, and I was asked to actually physically print out my permit because they want you to display it on the dash of your car while you're there. And I'm not sure if Brainard Lake is doing permits for the entire season this year because they don't list that on their website, but I will tell you that this area closes around mid-October anyway, because that's when the snow starts to come up to the higher elevations and they don't plow the road into the recreation center in the winter. So also note that you need a backcountry permit to backpack and stay overnight in the Indian Peaks Wilderness, anywhere in the Indian Peaks Wilderness from June through September. Next up, the Maroon Bells Scenic Area. This place is freaking gorgeous. It's out near Aspen. It includes my probably favorite short backpacking trip ever, which was to the 4 Pass Loop in this wilderness. It's just probably the prettiest place I've ever been. And I've been to some really, really beautiful places in the world. But anyway, whether you want to come in for a day or you want to do an overnight or you want to do the 4 Pass Loop, you do need a permit. And it's basically a parking pass. And you need one of these parking passes to get to this area anytime the road is open, which this year is from May 14th to October 24th. So this takes the place sort of an overnight permit. You do have to self-register at one of the permit stations once you get into Maroon Bells if you are doing an overnight. But basically your real permit to get into this area is your parking permit. And there are a few different types of permits for this area. One in the morning, one in the evening, one for 24 hours, and one for 60 hours. And just know that the road into Maroon Bells Wilderness is closed between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. That's why there's a morning permit and an evening permit. And if you get a parking pass to do an overnight or to do your 60 hours to do the 4 Pass Loop, then you're not allowed to drive on this road during those times when it's closed. And the fee to park in this area is $10. But again, if you have a National Parks Pass, you can use that instead to get in for free. But you still do need a parking permit. And you get these parking permits through the Aspen Chamber of Commerce. Again, I'll put the link below. If you want to go to this area and you can't get a parking permit because these do go quickly, then you can also take a shuttle. The shuttles run from the Aspen Highlands Village, which is a ski area in Aspen, and you also have to get a reservation in advance through the Aspen Chamber. Again, I'll put the notes below, or put that link in the notes below. but you can make a shuttle reservation to go into the Maroon Bells Scenic Area starting at 8 p.m. and going until 3 p.m. every day in the summer months. And these shuttles run from June 7th to October 17th in 2021. The return shuttles come back every 15 minutes until 5 p.m. But as I was told last year when I took a shuttle, you must be back to get on the shuttle by 5 p.m. or you're gonna be stuck there, or you'll have to take the road and walk back to Aspen, because that is when they stop running for the day. So don't miss the shuttle back. The return shuttles are first come, first served. So you might have to wait in line for a little bit on the way back. The shuttle costs $16 for an adult or $10 for a child or senior. Okay, on to Hanging Lake. Hanging Lake permits are required from May 1st through October 31st, and there are two types of permits, depending on whether you want to drive or you want to hike or bike to the trailhead. Both of these permits are the same price. They're both $12, and for the one where you park at the trailhead, this is the Hanging Lake Rest Area off of I-70 at exit 125. The second option is that you hike or bike to the trailhead in Glenwood Canyon. But again, this one's also $12 and you still need a permit even if you're not parking. You do not need a permit to do this hike between November and April, but note that the trail could very easily be icy and snowy during this time. Okay, on to our last hiking area that you need a permit for, and this is Conundrum Hot Springs. Conundrum Hot Springs is actually another one in the Maroon Bells Snowmass Wilderness, but it has its own special permit that you have to get for it. And this is, for most people, an overnight backpacking trip because it's about 8.5 miles from the trailhead to the hot springs. And then of course, 8.5 miles back, and it's about 2,400 feet of elevation gain. Most people do this hike as an overnight. Unlike these other areas that I've mentioned, you do need a permit to do an overnight in this area all year round, doesn't matter the month. Permits for April through July open up in February, permits for August through November open up in June, and permits for December through March open up in October. Be forewarned, these permits go fast. So you might be wondering, why are you including this information if we probably can't get a permit for 2021 since the time has already passed? And to that I would say, for this specific hike, it's so popular that I would recommend planning this one pretty far in advance. So if you know that you want to do this hike, you might not be able to get a permit for 2021, but you can plan ahead and go in for 2022. So I would say mark it on your calendars if you want to go next July, for example. Put it on your calendar that these permits open up in February. This year, I have a permit to go. This is the only one on the list that I've mentioned that I haven't actually been to yet. And I got my permit for this for a July hike way back in February. And the site, actually, I was having a really hard time. It kept crashing because so many people were on there trying to get a permit for this hike. Is the hike worth it? I don't know yet. I will report back after I go in July. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. But I've heard this one is a really, really special hike. So this one is also $10 to get a permit, and your permit that you sign up for is actually a campsite. It's a campsite that you have to reserve, and you get the campsite just for one night. And different campsites have different amounts of people that are allowed to stay at it. So the campsite that I got is allowed to have 4 people. There are also campsites that only take 2 people or take 6 people. So I got for my date the very last campsite available, and it's a 4-person. So that means that my permit is good for 4 people. It costs $10. Anyway, guys, I know that the permit process can be kind of complex and it can be hard to find information. So I hope that you have found this video helpful. I'll put links to all of these different hikes and hiking areas down in the notes to make it as easy as possible for you guys. Happy hiking. If you make it out to any of these places, I would love to hear about your experience. And don't forget to like this video if you got value out of it. Subscribe for more hiking, backpacking, Appalachian Trail, and Colorado content. And I'll talk to you guys on later.